Hi readers, 3 months down for the year and I should be up to 25 books, but sadly I have to report I've only done 24. I've fallen a little bit behind because March was a bit of a slow month in terms of reading. I read 6 books and I'm going to chat through them now. The first book of the month was Half His Age by Jennette McCurdy. I picked this one up as I really liked her memoir. I was really curious to read her fiction work, and if you have read this or heard about it, you already know it is super weird. The book is quite vulgar and the main character Waldo is very unlikable. The online commentary is that people either really hated it or others found it really refreshing and confronting, but in a really compelling way. I was probably in neither camp. The book revolves around a teenage girl getting a crush on her teacher, who is really average, sounds kind of disgusting. She's the one that pursues the relationship, but shock! The old teacher relents. The ongoing real shock is that he actually leaves his wife for her. The book was a bit off-putting, a little bit unsettling, and I wouldn't particularly recommend it. The next book was Loved One, which follows along Julia after her first love turned best friend Gabe unexpectedly dies at the young age of 29. At the time he passed, he was a musician with a bit of a cultish following, and his mum is really keen to get back a number of his possessions, which include some of his guitars. Julia heads to London to try and get anything that's left behind with Gabe's ex-girlfriend Elizabeth. Each woman in their own way has a claim to a real big sense of loss over Gabe's passing, and it's quite an interesting look at their relationship while they're both navigating their individual grief. It's quite an interesting look at how someone might fit in your world, but it transpires they have this whole world outside of you and you didn't quite know how you fit into that world. I found this one to be a good, quick read, not a rave review, but definitely recommend you pick it up. I picked up the next book, Seed, because I thought that it was going to give me Wild Dark Shore vibes, which is one of my favourite books from last year. Unfortunately, that was not the case at all. Seed centres around a seed vault in Antarctica, and that is where the overlap, to my mind, ends with Wild Dark Shore. Our main character, Mitchell, is an incredibly strong antinatalist. That makes his views on that well known to us. Indeed, I believe he belongs in a club for antinatalism. And while those views are expressed to us as readers, he doesn't appear to have a good ability to express himself to the woman that he was in love with and the colleague that he's now spending time in the seed vault with. The reason he's in the seed vault is that he and a colleague need to go there every year to do some experiments and some work there as they are scientists. There has been some destruction of seed vaults around the world, which makes the location of this very secret, but then all these mysterious things keep happening that seem to indicate that there could be someone out there, and that makes for quite a thrilling and mysterious aspect of the book. The book really seems like, to my mind, it was designed as a vehicle to explore the themes of climate change, population growth, and changing views about that. However, the main character, Mitchell, was just so intensely irritating that I don't know that I was particularly engaged because of that. Next up, I read It's a Love Story, which will shock no one to hear was a romance. Typically, I consume my romances via audiobook, and I say consume because personally I don't count my audiobooks towards my reading goals for the year, so everything that I list is something that I physically read. However, after my recent success with One Golden Summer and just absolutely loving the levity and brightness of that book in my life, I thought I'd pick up another one. Our female lead, Jane, was a geeky TV star in her adolescent years. As she's become an adult, she's trying to commence a new career as an executive producer, and as part of that, she's trying to get a movie that she wants produced greenlit. in order to convince the head honchos to greenlight her movie, she's suggested that she can get someone that she knows from back in her TV star days, who is a hip hop star now, to do an original soundtrack for the movie. As it happens, she doesn't have that approval, so cue entirely unlikely scenario where she goes and lives with a cute cinematographer's family for a week in order to try and get it. The scenario is a huge stretch, but Dan and his family are so wholesome and endearing, you just can't help to let it go and enjoy being in those scenes with that family. Personally, I didn't find the chemistry between the two leads to be particularly strong. However, overall, I just thought the book was really likable. It's a fun, easy read. As I am talking through my books for the month, I'm starting to understand why it was a bit of a slow one for me. I got stuck on quite a few books that I didn't find I was engaged enough in to really propel me forward. This next book, The Usual Desire to Kill, fits in that category, unfortunately. The book centers around Miranda writing to her sister every time she visits her elderly parents on a rural piece of property outside of France. They're all from England originally. On the property, they have 2 llamas, 5 chickens, 8 ducks, a bunch of other kind of animals roaming around all the time. I think they're quite fond of cats. So as I say, whenever she visits her parents, she emails her sister to vent about the trip and all the things that happened, and each time she kind of reflects that she has the usual desire to kill after having visited them. Her parents are both quite eccentric, very particular and stubborn in their own individual ways. I found the book quite witty and there were some funny lines, but mostly I just wanted to shake the characters. There was a huge sense of repetition with some of the conversations that she continued to witness between her parents and with her sister. While it was a bit annoying, I suppose it is quite reflective of what happens in real family dynamics. While the characters were nothing like my life or my family, it also was everything like my life and my family. So I thought she did a really good job of encapsulating family dynamics in the book. Even if it's not your specific dynamic, I think you can really understand it. I don't know if I'd recommend it as a read. However, if it came out as a play, I think where they could lean into some of the humor around the scenarios a bit more, it could be worth a watch then. My last book for the month was A Prayer for Owen Meany by Irving, and this book took me most of the month to read. So I would say that I'm usually reading about 2 books a week, but when I got into this one, it took me about a fortnight to get through. The book was quite interesting because it's dense and quite lengthy, but not a fantasy. So I feel like in a fantasy, even if it's slow going to start with, once you've built up the universe and you can understand the really strange names they all have and you're picturing the world, you can build up a bit of steam and progress through it quickly. Whereas this was a bit of a slow and steady pace the whole way along. So with that context and background set up, while it did take me a long time and I didn't feel that I was really propelled forward in reading it, I will say that Irving is a fantastic writer. There are a couple of scenes throughout the book where I was genuinely laughing out loud. My husband turned to me and asked me what the hell was happening. Unfortunately, it was very difficult to explain without 100 pages of context leading up to the particular scene. I think I would say I found 50% of the novel super enjoyable, and then 50% of it quite unnecessary to me. So if it went through a cut, it would have just been a huge hit for me. As it stands, I'm quite keen to read more of Irving's work. If you've read anything else of his that you want to recommend me, please pop it below and I will give it a try. Because we only got through 6 in March, it means I'm going to have a big month of reading in April with 9 books to get me back up in line with meeting the goal at the end of the year of 100. A little spoiler alert, it's actually the 10th of April when I'm filming this and I've read 3. So if I can keep up that for the rest of the month, I should just make it. But wish me luck, and hopefully when we are catching up next month, I'm back on track. Happy reading, and I will see you next time.